Welcome to the Sleep Dives channel. We're continuing our journey into Donella Meadows' masterpiece, Thinking in Systems. And today we're tackling something she calls system traps. You know, those frustrating, recurring problems that seem to pop up everywhere, from our own lives to global politics. We're going to break down what these traps are, and most importantly, how we might get out of them.
Okay, so let's start with a really foundational idea from economics. Adam Smith. You've heard of him? He famously talked about the invisible hand. It's this beautiful, elegant concept that when we all just act in our own rational self-interest, we kind of accidentally end up creating the best possible outcome for everyone. It's a world where doing good for yourself and doing good for the community are perfectly aligned.
But as we all know from, living in the real world, it doesn't always work out so neatly. The economist Herman Daly came up with a fantastic counterterm for this, the invisible foot. This is what happens when every single one of us acts rationally for our own good, but we end up creating a collective disaster, an outcome that absolutely nobody wanted. Think about it. Fishermen who overfish until there are no fish left, or tourists who flock to a beautiful spot and end up ruining the very thing they came to see.
So why does this happen? Well, a concept from Herbert Simon called bounded rationality really gets to the heart of it. The thing is, we're not all-knowing supercomputers. We just make what seem like reasonable choices based on the very limited, local information we have right in front of us. We're not trying to find the absolute perfect solution for everything. Simon calls us satisficers. We basically do just enough to solve the immediate problem, and then we move on. We're just doing our best with what we can see.
And this isn't a personal failing, not at all. It's a structural thing. It's this bounded rationality of ours that makes us so vulnerable to these really common, predictable patterns of system failure. And these are what Donella Meadows calls system traps, these classic archetypal problems that come right out of the very structure of the systems we live and work in. So, let's dive into the first trap. It's called policy resistance. You know that feeling of running as fast as you can, but just staying in the same place? That's it. This happens when you've got different groups in a system all pulling in different directions, each toward their own goal. And the net result? The system stubbornly stays right where it is and nobody's happy. The war on drugs is a textbook example. As you can see here, every single group has a rational goal. Law enforcement wants the drug supply to be low. Addicts, driven by their addiction, need it to be high. Dealers want it to be stable so they can make a profit. And citizens, they just want safe streets. The problem is, all these rational efforts just cancel each other out in a giant tug-of-war. If enforcement cracks down, the price goes up, which just creates a bigger incentive for dealers and can push addicts toward more crime to pay for it. The system resists the change. So how on earth do you escape this trap? Meadows' advice is, well, it's pretty counterintuitive. Stop pulling. Just stop. Instead of trying to overpower everyone else, let go of the rope and use that energy to find a bigger, overarching goal that everyone can actually agree on. In the drug war example, maybe that goal is public health and safety. Suddenly, you can talk about solutions like treatment and harm reduction, things that might actually serve multiple groups at the same time.
All right, our second trap is one of the most famous system archetypes out there, the tragedy of the commons. This applies to any shared, limited resource. We're talking a public pasture, clean air, fish in the ocean, even something like the quiet in a library. The structure of this system almost guarantees that the shared resource will be destroyed.
The ecologist Garrett Hardin, who really popularized this idea, just captured its bleak logic perfectly. It feels inevitable, doesn't it? He says, ruin is the destination toward which all rush, each pursuing his own best interest. It's a chilling thought that no single person wants the ruin, but everyone's actions lead directly to it.
And here's why it happens. It's all about broken feedback loops. Imagine one farmer adds an extra cow to the shared pasture. That farmer gets 100% of the profit from that cow. But the cost, the grass being eaten, the land degrading, that cost is shared among all the farmers. So for that one individual, the benefit is immediate and huge, while the personal cost is delayed and tiny. The only rational choice seems to be, add another cow.
To get out of this, you have to fix that missing feedback loop. Now, you can try to educate people and appeal to their morality, but honestly, that's often a bit fragile. You could privatize the commons, so each owner feels the direct consequences of their own actions on their own land. Or, for things you can't really privatize, like the atmosphere or the oceans, you have to regulate. Think about traffic lights. It's what Hardin called mutual coercion, mutually agreed upon. We all agree to give up a tiny bit of freedom to stop at a red light because we get the much, much greater benefit of not crashing into each other.
Okay, moving on to a trap that works its magic really slowly over time. This third one is so insidious. It's the drift to low performance. This is that gradual, creeping erosion of standards, where what was once considered bad slowly becomes the new acceptable, and then eventually it just becomes the new normal.
This quote just nails that feeling, doesn't it? It's that sense of things being downwardly mobile, where performance just seems to get a little bit worse year after year. We kind of know things should be better, but for some reason, the goal itself starts to slip, and we just accept the new, lower standard. This is famously known as the boiled frog syndrome. The idea is, if you drop a frog into a pot of boiling water, it'll jump right out. But if you put it in cool water and heat it up very, very slowly, the frog won't notice the gradual change in temperature until it's too late. The system's performance erodes so gradually that nobody sounds the alarm. What was once completely unacceptable becomes tolerable.
So the way out is to anchor your standards and refuse to let them slip. Don't let your goals be influenced by how poorly things went last year. Keep them absolute. Or even better, as Meadows suggests, you can reverse the loop. Tie your standards to the best you've ever done, not the worst or the average. That way, you create a system that drifts towards high performance.
So while the boiled frog is a system that's moving too slowly, our final trap today is a system that's moving way, way too fast. It's called escalation. This is that classic "I'll raise you one" dynamic. It's what happens when competitors get locked into a reinforcing loop, a powerful engine of exponential growth, where they just constantly try to one-up each other.
Now, what's absolutely crucial to understand here is that each competitor's goal isn't some fixed target. It's simply to be ahead of the other guy. And that creates this powerful reinforcing loop you see here. Actor A tries to get ahead of B. Then B sees A's new position and tries to get ahead of that. This system basically has no brakes, only an accelerator, and it can spiral out of control incredibly quickly. And this structure is just unbelievably common. You see it everywhere. It's what drives Cold War arms races and supermarket price wars. It's the engine behind nasty political campaigns and the deafening roar of advertising. It's even why cocktail parties get louder and louder as everyone tries to talk just a little bit louder than everyone else.
Escaping an escalation race means you have to break that reinforcing loop. You can do that in a couple of ways. One is to bravely refuse to play the game, to unilaterally disarm, so to speak. Or you can get together with your competitor and negotiate a whole new system, one that introduces balancing loops, like rules or agreements that keep the race in check. Think of arms control treaties or regulations on advertising.
You know, if you take just one thing away from our chat today, please let it be this. In all of these traps, the problem isn't bad people. It's a bad system structure. You can put the best, smartest, most well-intentioned people into a broken system, and you'll still get bad outcomes. It's so easy to blame individuals, but the real power, the real leverage, comes from understanding and redesigning the structure of the game itself.
And that really leaves us with the final thought. Now that you can recognize these patterns, policy resistance, the tragedy of the commons, those eroding goals, and escalation, start looking for them. What are the invisible structures that are shaping your work, your community, or your life? And maybe, more importantly, how might you, now that you understand the system a little better, begin to change them?